How's it going, everyone? Sorry for weather spawn drop. That was today. It's October 26, 2021, and today we're going to focus on our next major snowstorm that could impact the Midwest for the first time for the 2021-2022 winter season. And we'll also discuss more about the major nor'easter that's impacting the Northeast at this time. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. So let's begin by taking a look at the current computer models, the GFS model, and you see that we of course have this major nor'easter that's just off the coast of New England at this time, bringing heavy rain and a lot of strong winds along the coast as well. However, we are also keeping track of this next potential snowstorm that could happen by as early as early next week, where we do see some snow a little bit in the Midwest states. So we're first going to focus on our next potential snowstorm that could impact the Midwest, and then we'll move on to discussing more about the nor'easter that's impacting the Northeast. So take a look at the GFS model over the next over the next 3 to 5 days. You see that there is another trough that's going to move through, big enhance thunder shower activity. However, it becomes interesting when we move on into early next week on Halloween Sunday. We begin to see a little bit of a trough come off the Pacific Northwest, and behind it, we see a lot of cold air as we're getting into that time of the year where we're going to see a lot more jet stream dips that will cool down the United States and permanently from now on, and we're going to see those temperatures drop very rapidly over the next couple weeks. And now that could lead to our first snowstorm right around Monday, November 1st, where we begin to see that trough move further southward. And since there's a lot of cold air behind it interacting with the warmer air that's further southward, it's going to create a little bit of an unstable environment for some convection to occur. And since air temperature is expected to be cold enough for snow, we're going to see some snow around Wyoming, Nebraska, and even if we were to move even more forward, this impacts Kansas and Colorado as well. And even going beyond that, this goes as far south as New Mexico and Texas. So this would be a statewide type snow event. And we're still far away from the forecast, it's at least something we need to stay aware of for a lot of the Midwest states, because I'd say we're more likely than not going to experience a pretty big jet stream dip as well, which will cool down the temperatures to feel very winter-like during the beginning of November or the beginning of next week. So this is something you guys certainly need to keep in mind. So what will determine the chance of a snowstorm happening in the Midwest really all depends on how far south the jet stream dips, because if we see a more pronounced jet stream dip, then we're more likely to see convection and as a result a more unstable environment, which will create a lot more lift in the atmosphere for precipitation to occur. And since the temperatures will be cold enough during a major jet stream dip, we would likely see this precipitation fall in the form of snow throughout the Midwest. However, if the jet stream dip ends up being less pronounced than initially expected, or what's expected right now from the GFS and the European model, then we're less likely to see a snowstorm in the Midwest. But there's still a lot of uncertainty regarding the exact location of where exactly the snow will lie, because of course we don't know where exactly that jet stream dip where exactly the area where the jet stream dip will be the most pronounced. So we need to wait and see based off of that. But it really all depends on the northwesterly winds that's gonna be behind this trough towards Canada. So it really all depends on the strength of these winds to really bring down that colder air further southward to maybe create our first snowstorm in the Midwest. So still a lot of uncertainty with this. I know some people might think that I'm forecasting this a little bit too far out, but I want to give you guys a long-term forecast to give you guys a heads up to at least something to be aware of in the Midwest, because we could see our first snowstorm as early as next week by the beginning of November, thanks to a very pronounced jet stream dip. And if this were to come for fruition, this would impact Wyoming, Nebraska, Kansas, Colorado, and as far south as New Mexico, and even the northwestern portion of Texas. So the Midwest certainly needs to keep that in mind. And plus, there is still uncertainties regarding where exactly this the snow will where exactly the snow will fall in the United States, because who knows, maybe the snow storm will occur a little bit further eastward where it impacts closer to Missouri, or maybe closer to Chicago, and who knows, maybe this snowstorm could extend further eastward and impact more people. There's still a lot of uncertainty. I'm going beyond the 200-hour mark, so take it with a huge grain of salt, but you see that the range is at least close enough for something to at least be aware of it, because I'm going only 6 days out and we're seeing snow in the Midwest already through Nebraska and Wyoming. And while 6 days out, there's still a lot that could change. It's the computer models are at least confident enough to at least show that something will happen regarding regarding how much the snow and the cold air you should experience. And while the details of specifics are still unknown beyond around 6 days mark, we can at least say with a little bit more confidence that a snowstorm might occur in the Midwest. So we need to certainly keep that in mind. Now, in terms of the snowfall accumulation this specific snowstorm will bring, keep in mind this is do not take this very seriously, because of course beyond a snow forecast beyond the 5 day mark is still very subject to change drastically. And you see that if this were to come for fruition, if the GFS model were correct, you see that we do see an area of right around 5 to 10 inches of snow throughout Nebraska and Wyoming. And you see even the higher elevations of Colorado gets involved. Denver, Colorado gets involved in some snow. And we even see snow as far south as Albuquerque, New Mexico, where there's a pretty large area of 6 to 10 inches of snow, and even close to a foot in the extreme higher elevations of New Mexico. So this is certainly something you need to keep in mind. We could potentially see our next big snowstorm in the Midwest that could drop in excess of 5 to 8 inches, but a lot of uncertainty. There's still a very good possibility you experience no snow out of this, but we need to at least be aware of this in the Midwest. In terms of what the European model is saying when it comes to the snowfall forecast, what gives me a little bit more confidence with a snowstorm occurring in the Midwest is the fact that the European model is also agreeing that there will be at least some sort of snowstorm in the Midwest. And in terms of snowfall accumulation, the European is very identical to what the GFS model is saying. And that's certainly something we want to see, because that gives more confidence that there will be a snowstorm in the Midwest. Of course, they aren't completely identical. There are definitely some changes, but there are differences between two computer models, but for the most part, they're very similar where in exactly where they're bringing snow, how much snow, and how and when this will exactly happen, where we do see a trough coming off the Pacific Northwest with a lot of cold air behind it, and it brings the snow further southward. In terms of the snowfall accumulation, the European model is forecasting. Let's take a look at that. Again, this is assuming 1 inch of rain equates to 10 inches of snow, so this might not be the exact forecast from the European model, and even then, forecasting snow beyond the 5 day mark is very difficult. But you see that if we were to take a look at the snowfall forecast, for the most part, very similar to the GFS model. The only differences I can tell is that New Mexico and Texas does get a little bit less snow, but they're still experiencing an area of 3 to 6 inches of snow for the most part, which so it isn't such a drastic change from what the GFS model is saying. But you see that just north of the New Mexico-Colorado border, the snow forecast is very similar with the European model. So I think there is certainly a good possibility we could see our first major snowstorm throughout the Midwest. I'll keep you guys updated once we get more confidence regarding this the snow forecast for the Midwest. But as of right now, I'd say at least be aware of this in the Midwest states. Now taking a look at the Arctic oscillation forecast. This is important because the Arctic oscillation definitely could give us a good representation of what's to come when it comes to temperatures and jet stream dips. When we're in a negative Arctic oscillation, we're more likely to see the jet stream dip further southward and that cold air move further southward as a result of weak westerly winds, which really makes it more it makes it easier for the cold air from Canada to divert further southward into the United States. And you see that headed into early November, the forecast is that the Arctic oscillation will drop into the negative range, which does raise a concern that we could be in for a lot more cold air and a potential snowstorm next week thanks to a negative Arctic oscillation, as this would support a snowstorm in the Midwest next week if we were in a negative Arctic oscillation. And that's currently the forecast, where we do see quite a drop when it comes to the Arctic oscillation value, where we go back down into the negative Arctic oscillation phase, and that will certainly bring a lot more cold air further southward into the United States. So it seems like that we could see a major snowstorm in the Midwest next week, but a lot of uncertainty, guys. And I wouldn't say prepare yet. I'd just say just be aware of it in the Midwest. Now, taking a look at when it comes to my snowfall forecast, keep in mind this is just completely my speculation. Do not take it very seriously at all. I'd say, because we're still 5 to 6 days out. But here's my snowfall forecast of where the heaviest snow will fall and where the moderate or heavier snow will fall. I didn't give specific snowfall amounts because, of course, it's way too difficult to forecast that when we're forecasting snow beyond the 5-day mark. But I'm at least giving general terms of where to expect the heaviest snow and the lighter snow. So I'm expecting the heaviest snow to be right around the Colorado, mixing the southern Wyoming and the western portion of Nebraska. And I'm expecting heavier snow to be just outside of that, just south of Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I'm expecting moderate snow right around Denver, Colorado, and just outside of it. But keep in mind, take it with a huge grain of salt. This is definitely subject to change over the next several days, but this is what you should expect right now. So I'd say at least take it with some validity, but take it with a major grain of salt at the same time. So I'll update you guys once you get more confidence regarding the forecast for the snowstorm in the Midwest. Now, moving on to our next topic, which is the major nor'easter that's impacting the Northeast at this time. And you see my rainfall forecast. There's still an additional 2 to 3 inches of rain expected for upstate New York, extending to Connecticut, and right around the New York City metropolitan area, as well as it'll be and this rain will be on top of the rain you already experienced. So there's still a lot. So there could be an enhanced chance of flooding. In terms of the current IR loop, here's the nor'easter right now. And while it looks like it's moving to the northeast, it's unfortunately going to take a little bit of a left hook and come closer to the coast. And that's when we will see the winds increase all throughout the East Coast. I'd say later tonight, Tuesday night into early Wednesday, where we're going to begin to see this low pressure take a left hook, as this low pressure system went through bombogenesis, where the millibar pressure dropped 24 millibars in 24 hours. So this was quite a rapidly strengthening low pressure system, and it's expected to come closer and potentially bring more rain and stronger wind gusts as a result of this low pressure system coming closer. So that's definitely something you guys want to keep in mind throughout the East Coast. Now, taking a look at the current radar, by the time you're watching this video, this is how it should look like. We're seeing the rain scattered throughout the Northeast at this time. The good news is that New Jersey missed out on the worst of the storm. I'd say the forecast was around 3 to 5 to 5 to 8 inches at times in New Jersey, but it seemed like New Jersey hit sort of a dry slot for most of the day, which prevented a lot of rain from happening at all for most of the day on Tuesday. So New Jersey missed out on the brunt of the rain, which is certainly good news, as the computer models were having a difficult time forecasting the storm because, if you saw my previous video, both the European and the GFS model had starkly different forecasts only 24 hours out. So it was a little bit difficult to give a very confident forecast of the rainfall, but the good news is that it was a little bit less than expected thanks to the dry salt, but there's still rain expected throughout the Northeast before it's all said and done, because like I said, that low pressure system will eventually move closer to the East Coast, and we're going to see more rain as a result of it, and it's going to be last all through tonight and then end right around early Wednesday throughout the New York City metropolitan area, and then later during Wednesday afternoon on Wednesday throughout New England. So this is certainly something to keep in mind throughout the Northeast, that this isn't over yet, or we still have rain that's expected to occur all throughout the Northeast. Now, take a look at the wind forecast. This is how it looks right now for the East Coast. We're seeing those strong wind gusts now impact a lot of actually, this is how it looks right now. You see that we're already seeing the strong winds impact New England at this time. This is wind gusts, by the way, where we're seeing wind gusts over 40 miles per hour along the Massachusetts coast at this time, and we are also seeing lighter winds throughout New York City, but it's expected to increase. And then we see the stronger winds throughout Pennsylvania as well, where we're seeing wind gusts close to 40 miles per hour as well, and this extends to upstate New York as well. If we were to continue to move forward when it comes to the wind forecast, you see the winds are expected to increase even further, where we could see wind gusts close to 60 miles per hour right around Boston and the southeastern coast of New England, because you see that low pressure system comes extremely close to the Massachusetts coastline, almost making landfall right around Massachusetts. And you see the winds also increase throughout New York City as well, where we're seeing wind gusts over 30 miles per hour, close to 40. Connecticut is getting involved in 40 mile per hour wind gusts. So this storm is expected to bring quite a bit of winds throughout the East Coast. And you see, as the low pressure system moves closer, we could see wind gusts over 40 miles per hour as well in New York City and the coast of New Jersey, as well as this moves further south and westward. But eventually this will move out to sea, and we will see winds wind down right around the Wednesday afternoon time frame, which is certainly good news. But we're still going to see a long duration wind event for a lot of you guys, especially in New England. Now, take a look at the rain forecasts. You're going to see that you guys are still going to experience rain throughout the Northeast for today. So that's certainly something you guys certainly need to keep in mind. Actually, let me show you the radar. Here's how the radar looks right now. You see the rain is right at New York City's doorstep, and we're going to experience rain in the future as we head closer and closer into tonight. Now, take a look at what the computer models are saying when it comes to how much more rain is expected. You see that if we were to take a look at that, you see the another like 2 to 3 inches of rain is expected just to north of New York City and right around the coast of New England. So that's definitely something you guys need to keep in mind. There are some rivers close to flood stage, so you guys could experience some flash flooding as well, where there's still a slight risk of flash flooding despite the worst of the rainfall being over for some of you. And we still have an enhanced thunderstorm risk for tomorrow in the Midwest, where these storms could produce large hail, damaging winds, and isolated tornadoes thanks to the amount of instability this trough is going to bring to the Midwest. So that's something you guys certainly need to keep in mind for this week in the United States. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it for this video. I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video. Make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. And I hope you guys have a good day.